So, welcome to today's episode of The Art of Feeling Better. I have my friend with me today. This is Jo.
Hi!
And as it's Halloween today, or Samhain, Samhain, but it's not Samhain, but you may know it as written down as that. I thought we would have a little convo about some of the metaphors and some of the connotations around Halloween and what we kind of assume Halloween to be and what it is in modern day, and connect it in with something that people may or may not have heard of, something that we talk about as the witch wound. And not specifically for women, but a lot of women at the moment experiencing this ancestral drive to change and to step into their power as healers, but also this fear response that it's not safe to do that, and not quite understanding why. So a lot of the work I do in the kind of more spiritual side of things, as you know, because we talk about this all the time, totally is exactly the same thing as the science.
Yes.
It's all the same thing.
It's all the same
All the same thing. But it's trying to use the right language in the different spaces and to just have the conversations and help people understand a little bit more around some of this terminology and some of the stories that have been sort of thrown out there over the years, and some of the really dark and nasty spaces that women have been in over the years, and how things are starting to shift now. So we've done like workshops and different things before, and we've talked about this a few times, but you've got so much knowledge on this subject. I know you're so passionate and you do a lot of work with Pendle, for example.
I do.
So I thought we'd just have a little chat and talk about anything that you want to bring to the table about the history and about what a lot of us are experiencing at the moment and what the witch wound means to you and people in your circle. So where do we start with that one? It's a big topic, isn't it? It's a big.
I think we need to unpack really where the origin of the witch came from and how it's depicted in Halloween today. So obviously, witches are haggard and scary and
green faces. We'll see that everywhere today. Today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we're always depicted as ugly, horrible, frightful, mean, nasty. Watch the witch, the wicked witch. When in actual fact, that the how that's evolved over the years is from women that were beaten and tortured and paraded through the streets. They'd had their hair pulled out, they'd had teeth knocked out, bloodied faces, drowned, hung, in some parts burnt at the stake. And that's where that image has come from, that is regularly depicted to children.
And these are just women.
These are just normal women, not even witches.
Not even the healers or the medicine women.
No, just women. Just women. Women that had pockets in their skirts.
Don't ever have pockets.
Don't have pockets.
And why are we not allowed pockets?
Because we hide our spells in our pockets.
Yeah, pockets were banned. And it sounds really funny and comical.
It is.
This is real.
Women
were
real
not
life.
allowed to have pockets in their dresses or skirts.
They were not allowed opinions. They were not allowed anything that might set them apart from anybody else. It's quite horrific, really, that, you know, we look, like you say, we look back at it and we laugh, or we laugh at things that we see, but this was people's lives, you know, and men as well. Men were suffering the same fate as women.
Absolutely.
So it's wrong.
And where do we think that's come from? That's why. I mean, I know everyone's got different opinions on that. History has its own opinions on that. What's your take on why that became a thing? Why were women vilified in that way?
Personally, I think that the men that were in power at the time were frightened of just how powerful women can be. And especially when we come together as women, and we're all on the same wavelength and we're all thinking the same thing. It's a powerful thing, and I don't think that they wanted to suppress it. And then obviously that's carried on. You know, through the ages.
Perpetuated, doesn't it? As we go. And it's very much, and I've said this before when I've sort of been moving into my different spaces, that it's a real sort of visceral feeling in your body that it's not safe to talk about these things. It's not safe to even explore these concepts.
No.
And it's weird because as someone who's like a pretty sort of feisty, strong, opinionated woman living in this day and age, I used to, not anymore, but I used to question, that's a weird thing. Why do I feel like, where's that come from?
Where's it
It's
come
generational.
from?
This is like
definitely.
ancestral wounds that are passed down between women.
Subconsciously, we don't even know that they're there
dangerous
until we're confronted with something like that situation where you think, why do I feel the need to suppress myself or you know, keep my opinion to myself? Why do I feel like that?
I can't step into my power because there's a danger somewhere. It's dangerous, and that's you know, obviously where that's come from. But like practices now still, and I feel like I'm quite knowledgeable on the subject because I've been on my spiritual journey since I was 11, 12, so I'm pretty old now. So I'm in my crone phase for many years. But I didn't know some of the things that you were talking about when we did one of our workshops was news to me. So there's a lot going on now still in different spaces.
There's more people been killed in the last decade for crimes of witchcraft than there ever was in the whole Burning Times. So that's Burning Times in England, Wales, Scotland, and the rest of the world. There's more happening now. Unbelievable. So I've done quite a bit of work with research with Amnesty International and the things that happen, not necessarily in this country. There are things that happen in this country, and just as an example, down in London there was a social worker, and 47 of her cases that were active and live were children that had been accused of witchcraft by their parents or family members that social services were actively involved with. And that's just in this country, just one borough. That's just London. Yeah,
it's so surprising to me that,
because you wouldn't think that it was happening now, but it is. And there's a lot that goes on in Africa.
Yeah.
But it's all about education. It's all about education, and it's about us talking about it and spreading awareness, you know. And the most poignant thing that stood out for me was about a little boy. He was albino. Beautiful little boy. All his brothers and sisters, they were black, and his mum and dad were black, but he was the only one that was albino in his family. And he was about 6 or 7, and he was walking to school one day with his brothers, and 2 men pinned him down in the street, and they chopped his arm off with a machete, because apparently their body and their body parts are a really precious commodity that is used by witch doctors. So they can be witch doctors and, you know, do this, but obviously witchcraft is massively frowned upon. They have witch camps where they send people to that are accused of being witches.
Isn't that crazy now?
And these people are left there to die, literally. And if you go to help them and give them food or water or anything, you're put in there with them. Yeah. So there's no escape for them. But it shouldn't be happening, because these people, they're not witches. They might be witches. You know,
they're not witches in the sense that you're taught witches are. Yeah. This is why the subject's so difficult, because you're taught that witches are the monsters. They do terrible things to people, and, you know, like you say, the Wicked Witch of the West and all those things. And there's a belief there that's ingrained in people of what the word witch means. Mm-hmm. But we have a very different interpretation. Anybody who's you know, involved with these communities and are active practitioners view that very differently, and view the word very differently.
Yeah, they do.
And I think there's such a disparity between that space and the rest of the world, who they're not even in the space to think about it, because a witch is just, it's a mask you wear at Halloween, that's it. That's what witches are. Yeah. And then if anybody is like practitioners, if anybody speaks, and we've had this in so many spaces when when we talk about it, and you'll speak about your work, and people instantly are like really baffled, like, this is an intelligent woman who is a mother and does all these things. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that word, because that's like a fairy story word. Yeah. Because that's what we're taught and led to believe. Yeah. So what in your, it's a difficult one to frame, but what does it mean to you? What does that word mean to you? What is your opinion of what a witch is?
A witch to me is somebody that reads energy, uses nature, follows the moon, follows the stars and the sky, somebody that's in tune with nature, and just somebody that is sitting in their own power and is true to themselves, and uses the tools that nature offers, crystals and plants, even divination.
The elements.
The elements. Just to add to their lives. It's not to persecute anyone or use against anyone. It's just to give energy and power to your own manifestations.
Enhancing your own life.
Like people use tools. For me, that's what witches use. Their own tools. That's all it is. What would the word witch mean to you? It'd be interesting to hear in the comments what you think the word witch means.
What is the word that comes up? Sometimes we do that with like post-it notes. What is the initial word that comes up? What does it mean to you? Because it's just such a fascinating topic, I think, really fascinating. And I obviously my work in that space is more of a sort of shamanic practitioner, and I always, for me, the word witch I don't really associate with myself, and not for the reason of the witch wound or because I'm not in that space. There's just other spaces, and I've explored loads of different things over the years since I was a child, and everything that's associated with shamanic tribes. We talk about this a million times. And the practices and the similarities are so great. It's for me working with what I have around me, with the elements, with nature, with my surroundings, with my energy. I do a lot of work around the Schumann resonance and looking at my own. And we're going to talk about this in another podcast because you're also a sound practitioner.
Stay tuned.
We're going to talk about energy in a different way. But for me, it's all connected. The whole thing is connected. It's just the different labels that we put on it and the associations with those labels. But there's such crossovers and such similarities, and it's very much in the kind of the pagan community. There are lots of different people that have different practices and different tools that kind of come together with whatever their label is. There's lots of practicing witches. There's lots of people who just have different ways to frame it. But it seems so similar to me.
It is. It's all very similar.
It's power. It's taking back your own power. And especially again, there's another conversation about Wicca and the Wiccan community, which is sort of a different space again within a space, and understanding the ethics, I suppose, behind it, if that's your frame of reference, and as long as you're not hurting anybody, cool, do what you want.
The thing that I like most about it is the fluidity of it all. There's no right or wrong. There's no one path. I might start this journey off on crystals, and then I take a shamanic path, and then I come from the shamanic path and go onto a Wiccan path. And there's no right and wrong, and it doesn't matter whether you've been practicing for 5 minutes or you've been practicing 50 years. We're all of the same understanding that it's there to help us. It's there to achieve the things that we want to achieve by, following whatever path it is that we're on.
It feels to me like it's the words that come to my mind is that sovereignty and empowerment is what I get out of the space that I move in, as opposed to the structure that we've got in Western society now, where it's having things done to you and having other systems and things to fix you. It's understanding who you are, what lights you up. It's all the work I do with Mojo School, really. Understanding what makes you tick, what your passion is, what your purpose is, what your real identity is, what your DNA blueprint is, what you're here to do, and having the accountability, the sovereignty and the power to do that yourself, and then pay it forward and support your family, your children, your community. And for me, I feel like that's what it always was, way back in history. Beginning, that's what
it's
it
all
always
about community.
was. And then all of a sudden, as you say, this hierarchical, patriarchal system came in, for whatever reason, and it was very obvious that this way of living, and in particular the women who came together and worked together as a community, were directly opposing this new framework. So it became really apparent really quickly that anybody who behaves that way, everybody who has their own sort of freedom of thought, and they have any kind
not to be tolerated.
It's not, because it's not in that system. That does not work. That's the enemy. That is the enemy to everything that we're trying to create, where we've got this kind of power. You can't have anybody that's free thinking, that understands the connection between their own bodies and the natural environment. Anybody who understands their own energy and that they have the ability to harness. I mean, we're both Reiki practitioners. So, and if you understand Reiki, which I think I've done a couple of videos on it before now, but if you understand the whole concept, being able to harness, direct and release your own energy, whether it's for yourself, your own life, or whether it's as a healer supporting other people's energy. That's massively powerful thing for people to understand about themselves, and that's why all of this language came about. Quackery and woo-woo and tree huggers and all the hippies and all the mumbo jumbo, because it was very easy to use that psychological manipulation to go, don't look over there, they're all weirdos. Don't look under there, they're evil, they're wicked, they're bad, they'll hurt you, they'll harm you, they're up to no good.
Stay over this side.
And then everybody's kind of shoehorned into this brilliant space of complete control, complete coercive control, where they have no decision-making power over their own lives. They just, and we can see that playing out now really badly, can't we? That's the situation where everybody...
there's also a massive awakening.
It's a big movement now.
There's a huge shift, and I feel like people have probably felt like this for a long time, or they've practiced behind closed doors for a very long time. But now that there's more of us speaking out about it and saying, no, it is okay to call yourself a witch. It is okay to call yourself a shamanic practitioner, a healer, exactly.
Or medicine man, or
I think it's empowering a lot more people to come forward and realise that actually there's nothing bad in it.
And having an interest in crystals, and then everybody else around you goes, oh, just rocks are stupid, which is fine, it's cool, every opinion is valid. But then going back into something, oh, I'm being stupid, is one thing. But then being around other people who go, actually, no, here's some information on that, here's some science behind that, and we're all really interested in that. When you get you think, well, this is my place, these are my people, this is...
I feel comfortable enough to be
and
myself.
In my space, and you see it now in, I was in the range the other day, all the shops are available. And it's like everywhere. There's tarot, there's crystals. You would never have seen this a few years ago. And there's a lot of us that have been there's all kinds of meets now, and there's loads of things happening in our area in particular. And I've had lots of conversations with other people, men and women, but predominantly women, just laughing and joking, saying, "My God, I've been in the broom cupboard for 20, 30 years as a solitary practitioner, just feeling that this is right for me, and being in my own merry little way, working with the tools I've got, connecting in with nature, building and researching esoteric wisdom and all, and doing that, but keeping it very guarded. Never. And then I'll go to work in a highly corporate space, and I'll be a teacher. I've got loads of teachers who do things like light language and all kinds of crazy things. And then I'll go back behind closed doors and I'll be myself in this space. But then all of a sudden, brave people start to speak a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, that's me. That's me. And it's definitely more so now over the last few years, for sure. It's gathering momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the way, and it's difficult in one little podcast, but there's so much. I would encourage anyone to just explore, read books, just open your minds to different things, and on both ends of the spectrum, and critically think and assess what works for you. But having that knowledge is really powerful, because you'll find things that you never would have thought about, and you can kind of challenge your own perceptions, can't you? Your own stereotypes, your own assumptions. And you might just find your space there that works for you. But having these conversations and being able to connect the dots between this space, which is just like fairy story, weird shit, totally woo-woo, totally bizarre language, and then trying to kind of join the dots with things like very scientific outcomes and knowledge, and things around quantum physics, and
and just simple things like the plants. That's where all medicine comes from. It's the plants and the herbs, and there's science behind it. It's proven,
they're all there for a reason, and they grow in certain areas when people need certain things, and they grow next to each other so they can help each other. It sounds fantastical because we're taught that it's fantastical, but then you look a bit deeper and the science is there, everything's there for a reason, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's these conversations that need to happen. Hopefully, the people out there listening to this, I know there'll be some people that'll go, no, not listen to this one, don't like it. It challenges everything I've ever believed, and everything. That's called cognitive dissonance.
But they don't have big warts on their noses and pointy hats.
I know, why are they not green?
Why are they not green?
But there'll be some people out there that'll go, oh my gosh, this actually makes me think about something that I feel that it's kind of shifted my perspective slightly, or, oh, thank goodness I get messages sometimes, you just said something. Am I right in thinking that you're in this space? And I've known you for years, and so am I. I thought you were just like a normal school teacher that just went to school and went home and was very, very corporate, or worked in a bank, or.
But that's because we've been taught so long to suppress ourselves and not be out there. I've gone past that point now.
You are
I'm 100% out the broom closet.
You are well out.
You see me flying on my broom.
You are definitely even your door at home, and everything. That car with pencil wheels that you used to have. But that was
let's not talk about the car.
It's a great car. And that's so empowering, isn't it? And it's also empowering for other people.
It is. But I've also, with with being out there, I've also experienced firsthand persecution for that, being ostracized by the community for that. And until it actually happens to you, you don't realize just how soul destroying that, that can be. Something that you're passionate about, that you're totally aligned with, and a whole community of people are going.
And you don't think that people could be so cruel.
Well, this is it,
directed at you, or misguided, or whatever the word would be.
Yeah.
Until it's directed at you. And I guess that's the beauty of kind of just spreading a little bit of awareness that there are things, there are communities of people that exist all over the place that have specific beliefs and specific practices, and enjoy each other's company and do great things that isn't not affecting anybody else whatsoever. And it might be nice to find out a bit more about them so that you can understand where you fit with that, whether it's something that you think, well, that's cool, not for me, but crack on, I'm interested to hear more.
And it's not even a case of we're trying to convert you.
Exactly. Yes, So my husband has said a few times, "Are you sure you're not trying to start a cult?" It was the furthest thing from my mind. I don't want that kind of responsibility. I just want to spread awareness.
Not trying to recruit you.
Yeah, spread awareness of different
perspectives. But it's awareness, and what I found, the pagan community is one of the most accepting of other faiths and other people than any other one.
It's interesting, that one, isn't it?
It really
Everybody's
is.
welcome. I know people in that community who have very strong Christian beliefs. You would not think that would match up.
No.
I agree with that.
But we can all sit together and be of these different faiths or beliefs, and it doesn't matter. Yeah,
you've still got in common. You have your practices and your way of life. It's a way of life, really, isn't it? It's more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And we're going to have another conversation. We're going to talk a bit more about, a bit deeper into kind of energy medicine, and in particular sound. That is your baby, that is your superpower.
It is.
Like, so gifted. Joe's the only person that I go to for Reiki treatments myself. And
so privileged.
I trust you. You're so good at what you do. You are really, really good at what you do.
Thank you.
And your sound, the sound healing is just magic. And I think there's so much there that people don't understand around frequency and sound. And we're going to talk about that in another one anyway. But even just thinking about music and what it does to you in general is huge, isn't it? Which we won't go into too much about, but just something to think about. And whether this topic resonates with you or not, I definitely suggest listening to the one around sound, because it's relevant to everybody, isn't it?
Definitely.
So before I let you go and enjoy whatever you are doing for this particular celebration, and we celebrate very differently. I'm kind of in a space now where over the years I've really offended trick or treating and doing all the kind of traditional Halloweeny stuff, because we don't celebrate Halloween.
No,
it's a different thing altogether for me. But I get it, I understand, and it's family love it.
Kids love it.
Kids love it, and it's great. But I have very specific, practices and things to honour. For me, it's about honouring ancestors, and it's about, very different things, doing lots of energy work, doing lots of shadow work and inner child work and healing. And
well, that's what it was originally for. And it tied in a lot with the 1st of November, which is the Day of the Dead, that the South Americans celebrate. And it was all about lighting your lantern to guide your ancestors home, and doing your dumb supper. So you would set a plate for your ancestors. And that's what it was all about, until it was commercialised as the Halloween as we know it, and that, it's never normally
all the nasty, horrible monsters,
all the scary stuff.
Yeah.
But it was never. I don't even know where the name Halloween came from.
I don't know, but we should look at that. I did,
because obviously we have Samhain, but the norm is not All Hallows Eve,
All Hallows Eve,
and then changed to Halloween.
Yeah, but it's a very different space they move in with that. So I'll do certain things for my own personal sort of beliefs and practices, and then we'll do, the kids are older now, but we do all the trick or treat. I'm always looking at the costumes and thinking, kind of feels just so misaligned, because.
But how many of you had to wear a bin bag and a pointy hat?
Bin bag, which is great. I've done that recently, actually.
Really?
The whole family went, so we did one of those murder mystery. It was one of those mystery tours around Liverpool.
Yeah.
And you could team up, and we decided to be bin bag. It was so ironic. Bin bag witches. So we all as adults put it. Great.
It's all right if we take the mick out of ourselves.
That's fine. That's absolutely
fine.
But yeah, it always makes me think, gosh, I'd love to just knock on the door and just, can I give you a lesson in what this actually means? Like, I don't want sweets. I just want to tell you that's just really, that's really offensive.
Last year I was handing out mini spells to the parents.
Brilliant.
The money spells.
How did that go?
They loved it. They were telling all their friends, and then I had a line outside the door. Go to the witch's house with the purple dog.
It's so cool, isn't it? Because nowadays everybody, and again, the language we use, everybody's into manifestation. And manifesting, is everywhere you see manifesting and specific intent and doing vision boards and doing all kinds of stuff. It's literally, that's what it is. That's literally what women have done and men have done for millennia, is working with specific intent, specific tools, specific representations of colour and products and items and things from nature to focus your energy on a specific outcome. And that's all it is for me. And keep them in your pockets. Yeah. And then you're not, that's literally all it is.
In the pockets that were banned.
It's not like you see in the films. It's not like you see in the cartoons.
If I could wave a wand and my house be clean, I would be over the moon.
How cool would that be if all the squirrels came in and started doing housework?
Put all your washing away. I'd be so happy. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's not like that.
Doesn't work like that. Instant gratification would be great.
When we say that we're a witch,
people assume,
that's the automatic thing that they think that you're doing is.
Yeah, if I come in your house, you're gonna turn me into a frog.
Yeah, like Samantha and her twitchy nose.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
You're gonna put me in a boiling pot. Depends, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't work like that, and it's just opening your mind, expanding your mind enough to research and find out and look a bit deeper to what you are presented with, which is all I do in my conversations, is to kind of look a bit deeper than the information you're given from the general kind of society and the powers that be and the media and all the rest of it, because there is more to every story, and it's about just challenging your own beliefs and your own perceptions. Now, before I let you go and we move on to doing something a bit different, I have 3 questions that I haven't prepared you for.
Oh, no.
And I'm asking every one of my guests.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's cool. It's easy, right? Okay. So if I prepare you, you've got time to think, and this will be really intuitive from the heart. So my first question to all of my guests is, and it's like a big question, but whatever first comes to your mind is going to be right for you. How can we change the world? What's the one thing that we need to do to be able to change the way the world looks?
Do you really want my honest opinion?
Yes, I might edit it out. No, I do. How can we change things?
We need to return back to how we used to live. Get rid of the government. We need to go back to the land, communities, helping one another, growing our own food, not being charged for everything.
The privilege of being alive.
Yeah, exactly. For the air we breathe.
We're the only species that has to pay to live on the planet.
Yeah, that's how I would do it.
Spoken like a true witch, I completely agree. Completely agree. Everything I do in my life is about that concept, so I'm glad you said that. I thought you were going to say something really weird. My second question is a really wee small version of this. What is one thing that people can do every single day that might just help them feel better? Because it's called The Art of Feeling Better.
Yeah.
Podcast. Anything that you have in your daily practice, something easy and simple that people can add to their toolkit just to help themselves feel better in this shit show. Just
gratitude every morning. Just what you're grateful for. It's very easy to get caught in the negativity trap. And you wake up and you think, oh my God, I've got so much shit today, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen, or I've got to go and do this, I've got to go and do that. And sometimes with the power of attraction, we attract that to us if we're in that negative space. So just get up every morning and just list. It only has to be 3 things. Yeah. 3 things that you're grateful for that morning.
Such a powerful day.
100%.
Energy is great advice. Yeah. Gratitude journaling is brilliant. Brilliant. I love that. Final question. We've got a Spotify playlist. Okay. So I've got the Art of Feeling Better Spotify playlist, and I'm asking every single guest to pick one song that's their ultimate feel good tune, and it can literally be anything, right?
Wow.
And don't forget, I might let you do another one on, because you've got 2 podcasts. So you could pick 2, but just pick one for now. That if you're really feeling crappy, you've had a bad day, is there a song you put on that just instantly boosts your mood?
Oh,
I know there's too many.
That is such a tough question.
I've had so many, like from rave songs to Christmas songs to oldies.
Wow.
I've had loads of different ones.
I don't.
And that is when the battery died, just as Jo chose her song, which was Basket Case by Green Day.
God damn it.
So thank you so much for joining me tonight and spreading a little bit of wisdom and giving people something a little different to think about. Hope you all enjoy whatever you're doing tonight. And maybe just think about things a little bit differently, and maybe just take the time to think about what this celebration would have meant years ago for your ancestors, and think about maybe, your ancestors lost loved ones, people that are no longer here, and just give a bit of time to connecting and thinking about that.
As the veil thins.
As the veil thins, yeah. As the energy changes a little bit, it's a good time to do it because it's much easier to connect in while you're scrolling on all the sweets you get from the neighbours. So
I knew I should have been a dentist.
We're in the wrong industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Wow.